Absolutely fascinating stage in this James Hardie 12-hour, with now just about an hour and a quarter remaining in the race. The leading car, this Mazda RX-7, number 17, has one pit stop remaining. It's completed 226 laps, but it has a pit stop remaining. We don't know, they don't know how long it'll be in, what work has to be done. Behind it, the Ford Laser Turbo is in second place, and it shortly will complete 224 laps. So there's 2 laps between the two cars, and then there's a static gap back to third place. Here's the mighty little Laser. It's in the same position that it finally won last year, and it has been an absolute model of consistency, of good steady speed, and almost never going in for service. It's quite incredible. If you ever wanted to endorse $28,000 worth of motor car that you can thrash and not have to spend lots of money on, this appears to be the case.
That's right. I know that these guys aren't sparing any aspect of the car. They're pounding the brakes. They're using maximum revs. It's a turbocharged car, so there's a fair amount of boost through it. They put fuel in it, put front tyres only, and it just keeps going.
I know when you told me that I asked you what's the best way to do a standing start in one of these, a race start, and you said put just about maximum revs on the clock and whip your foot off the clutch, like slide it off, just thump it home.
The only problem with that is you tend to hurt your neck, but there's no problems with the car.
It is just so strong. It has almost total grip immediately, and just 36 seconds behind it is the BMW M5, but it is not catching at this stage. Ken Douglas, you were in this car last year. Can you see which of the 3 drivers is in it at the moment?
Kent Youlden, the lead driver, is in fact in the car at the moment. They call him the Bear, and if you see his facial hair, you'd know why. But Kent's a top steerer, and he'll get it home in one piece on the pace.
How hard would he be prepared to force it, to take it on, if he saw a chance of catching the Mazda up front or a chance of fending off the BMW behind?
He'd do whatever he had to do. Kent's a very tough competitor, and I know I've had a few rumpled panels because he's a tough competitor and because I won't back off, but he'll do whatever he has to do fairly to get the result.
From the way he's driving it at the moment, how hard is he going? How much does he have in reserve?
He's got a bit. He's keeping it flowing along quite smoothly. That's the way to get speed out of these cars, but that last little bit of raggedness for that final little bit of speed isn't there, so there's a bit left.
So off down Conrod goes the car that's second outright in the race, in a very different field to the field in which it took second honours last year. 24 cars last year, of which 20 finished. 55 cars started this year, of which about 45 are still running. It's been a remarkable effort, and it's been a very much tougher one to come out on top. And the crazy thing is that last year it never led the race. This year it has on several occasions.
Absolutely. Car 20, that's the BMW. The BMW with Alan Jones currently at the wheel, a BMW M5 worth $155,000. A lot of money, a lot of motor car. Will, are you surprised that the car hasn't done better today?
Well, I don't know. It's I suppose it's horses for courses. I'm an enormous fan of constant four-wheel drive, and I know what you can do in those little lasers. If you put a set of rally tyres on it, you can drive like a near-world champion rally driver. They're so forgiving, they have so much traction, they're so responsive to driver input, and I was lucky enough to race one of them that Ford lent me up at Surfers among 5 other motoring journos, and I know you can just do fierce, evil things to them, and they don't bite you. You've got to be a better driver to get the maximum. We thought the BMW had finished its pit stops. It hasn't. It's just the length of Conrod straight behind the little Ford Laser, which we're fairly sure has completed its pit stops, but it's another one for Alan Jones in the Nobby's Nuts BMW M5.
The Laser has certainly completed all its pit stops, and this BMW is slightly out of sequence, so this doesn't make sense.
Alan Jones into the pits now. He'll remain in the motor car. Again, the team prepared for a 4-wheel brake change. Car goes up, wheels come off. Front brakes are certainly going to be changed. There's no doubt about that. Rear brakes still remain to be seen. Nope, no rear brakes. Going straight, tyres going straight on the car, so it'll be front brakes only. Frank Gardner, team manager, was this a scheduled stop?
It is now.
But was it a scheduled stop, Frank? Were you expecting another one?
Well, we weren't quite sure. We were using a pad material that we'd never used before, and we weren't quite sure what it'd do, but it's been giving us a few moments, so we thought we'd better abort it and go back to the other stuff.
In doing so, you've aborted your attack on the Ford Laser in second position. Can you get back at it in the next hour?
Time will tell, as the man said.
Won't it, Frank? It needs one more quick stop, I understand, which might be in your favour.
Well, we hope so. But, I mean, they've all gone on all day. You can never pick it. It's a lucky dip anyway.
Frankie, you're frustrated by the lack of preparation in this car. Would you have liked another couple of weeks?
No, it was just a toe in the water exercise. You pull a thing off the showroom floor and go motor racing. It's not that easy. If it was that easy, everybody would win the World Championship, wouldn't they?
Well, you've got a world champion in the car. You've been satisfied with his experience, his performance today.
Yeah, great.
There
Brilliant.
it goes. 1 minute and 28 seconds, and Alan Jones not exactly charges, but moves back out of the pits.
Well, a surprisingly good stop there that just has managed to fend off the Saab coming down the mountain now. Now, that Saab, if it had been round the other end of the circuit, motoring along pitch straight, it would have picked up a placing. It would have said, "Tata BMW, I'm now in third." As it is, it'll have to be an on-the-track chase for Colin Bond and Glenn Seaton in the Saab.
Ken Matthews, I think, is in the car. No, I think it's Glenn Seaton that's currently in the car. Will heading down the straight.
And indeed, we can have a chat with them. Glenn Seaton, how's everything going in the Saab?
Good, Will. The radio keeps cutting in and out, so it's fairly hard to listen to you.
Well, try hard, because we've got some very interesting information. The BM in third place, immediately in front of you, has just done a pit stop, and he's half a lap in front. Are you in good enough condition to chase? Can you hear me, Glenn Seaton?
Yes, I can, Will, but it keeps cutting out sometimes.
We'll
so
just
I'll
wait
try and
till a little
listen.
bit further along pit straight after the bridge.
Okay, then. I can hear you fine now.
Okay, now, the BMW in third place immediately in front of you. You've both now completed 225 laps, but he got out of a pit stop just about 30 seconds ago and is about half a lap in front. Are you in good enough condition to chase him and try and grab third? Well, Glenn Seaton's unfortunately not in, or his radio's not in good enough condition to hear us, so that's a pity. It'd be a fascinating answer, I'm sure. I'd love to know it, because I'm sure his pit crew will be informing him of the situation. We might have done it a little bit earlier, but I just suspect, what do you reckon, guys, that that BMW mightn't be able to operate quite as quickly as the Saab can, and still looking at how much? At an hour and 8 minutes of racing.
The question that occurs to me is whether the Saab has another pit stop. We know that the BMW should be able to get through now on a fresh set of pads, but whether the Saab can or not, that will really answer the question.
And we'll answer all those questions in the next hour and 8 minutes of this James Hardie 12 hour at Mount Panorama, Bathurst.
The 1992 James Hardie 12 Hour is proudly brought to you by James Hardie Industries, Caltex, Peugeot, Bridgestone, and Nissan.
Such is the growing popularity of motorsport in Australia that this month more than 40,000 people have entered a contest held by Castrol Australia to win Australia's fastest road car, the Group A Holden Commodore. The winner from Queensland is Alan Brodie, and to present him with his keys to his new car is one of Australia's fastest drivers of Australia's fastest car, Brad Jones. Brad, the presentation?
Thanks, John. Well, congratulations, Alan. I'm sure you'll get a great deal of enjoyment out of it. It's a beautiful car, and you're a very lucky man. I wish I'd have won it.
Yeah, right.
Alan, it's a collector's item. What are you going to do with it?
I'll take it for a spin, I think, John.
But right now, Car 50, where are you? Well, Car 50 is back in the garage. That's where Car 50 is. The Toyota Corolla was driven by former police driving instructor Dave Thomas. He's with us now. Good afternoon, Dave.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
A copper in trouble. I'm not laughing. Former copper.
Ex-copper in trouble, yeah. We had a bad day and broke the gearbox mounting, and
let the oil out all over the exhaust pipe, so we had to put it away.
Now, driving a little Corolla around here, no matter how well you were going, I guess a lot of cars going past you. As a police driving instructor, what was the traffic like out there?
It was hectic at times. It was pretty steady, but you get to learn to watch your mirrors very carefully and keep a close eye on who's coming up behind you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm used to that as a driver myself, because it's usually blokes like you coming up behind us. There's car 51, your mate. As I said, car 50's out. You also drove for quite a while as a police chase man.
Yeah, on the highway patrol for a couple of years, taking off after
the RX-7s.
RX-7s around Mossman, I think it was.
No, they're Volvos. They're too slow over the humps. When you're driving a police car, what are the cars that you immediately hone in on? I mean, drivers always think, oh, they're after me, but what are your favourites?
No, it's not like that at all. What happens is most of the blokes in the highway patrol are car nuts. So if you just happen to in a nice RX-7 or a Super or something nice,
just pull up to say hello.
Well, they'll have a look at you, and if you happen to be doing 30 kilometres an hour over the speed limit, they might take notice of it.
So because you're driving a really nice car, you're more likely to come under, shall we say, critical scrutiny?
Well, first off, they look at your car, not you, and if the car happens to be doing the wrong thing, you're in strife.
Yeah. What about the road toll? I mean, it has dropped dramatically in recent years. Is it purely because of the random, or are we better drivers?
I think it's a package. The cars are better, roads are getting better. People are more road safety conscious these days.
What about driving a Toyota Corolla around here? I mean, this is a little suburban car. This is what they call, I suppose, wrongly, a housewife's car.
Yeah, they're not actually. The twin cam motor in our Corolla is quite good. It's in the old money, 130 horsepower. It's quite exciting. We pull about 210 kilometres an hour down Conrod. We'd all like to be in something a bit quicker, but for the money, the Corolla's good value.
All right, well, I gather you're now out of the police force, not chasing people like us.
No, trying to teach people how to drive a bit better.
How to drive more safely. All right, nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
Dave Thomas, who was in car number 50, the Toyota Corolla.
And while car number 7 is up in 9th place, it will shortly come up to 8th place, because in the pits, and we're looking at car 23, car 1 is being wheeled away. Peter Fitzgerald, last year's winner, 5th place outright, the leader in Class D, when he pitted just a little while ago. As we look at the S class, the sports car class, and car 23, that's come over from Western Australia. But a sad moment where last year's winner has had to wheel away the car that was in 5th place, but also leading Class D. This is an interesting little car, the NX Nissan. I always feel this particular one should have gone faster. It has the same engine as the Nissan Pulsar, but a smaller frontal area, so it should be slipperier through the air. There's the price, very competitive. Comes with anti-lock brakes with that, and also a Targa roof, and central locking and electric windows, all that sort of stuff. I reckon it's one of the real bargains in the sports car class. 1165, the weight's pretty right. That good Pulsar engine that's made the Triple S Pulsars go so well through the day. But a fairly small tank, 50 litres. But as I say, the price is right. And for me, I would have expected it to go a little bit better here. But, of course, its preparation wasn't helped by a smash in Western Australia.
And it has actually moved up to 3rd in its class. And the leader is in the pits, car number 17. The Mazda is in the pits. John Smiles might catch up with the action with the Nissan pit report.
It was in the pits, but it's about to go out, Craig. So that was a very quick stop. 232 laps. And the next car to it, the little Ford Laser, had completed 229, but Ken Douglas, that's also briefly been in, is that right?
Yes, I couldn't quite notice why, but it came in briefly and has just gone back out again. Now, the reason for that's not apparent at the moment, but we'll just keep an eye on it and see if the car has any visible problems.
So the race leader then is the Mazda number 17. This is the Charlie O'Brien car, and Gary Walden and Mark Gibbs, the car that started from 2nd grid position, front row of the grid, but blasted away in the early laps of the race, and finally has grabbed the lap record nearly 5 seconds below the lap record set by the Toyota Supra Turbo last year, and has currently a 3-lap lead over the Ford Laser that's in 2nd place. It's done 229 laps.
And the battle for Class A is really on. Here is the Mark Brame Suzuki. It's 11 seconds behind the Tom Wilkinson Corolla on the road. It's pulled in for a pit stop. The pit stop is on. It's taken 10 seconds. It's 11 seconds. It's 12 seconds. Still fuel's going into it. Henry Draper's not getting in the car. 14.5 seconds and he's gone. And the Toyota Corolla team look on enviously. Now we wait to see what can happen with them.
Car number 56 is in 15th outright, chasing 14th outright, and class leader car number 49, Tom Watkinson in the Corolla. But this is the race leader. As I was saying, it's completed 232 laps, so it's on its 233rd lap around Mount Panorama. And car 2, dear oh me, made a pit stop just a little while ago. And really sad, because surely that's the car that everybody loves, and it got to within 1 hour of the finish of this second 12 hour and taking its second consecutive second place.
It's engine related, it would appear. Kent's opening the bonnet now, and I can imagine how he feels. He'd be absolutely heartbroken.
You can see the heat shimmer there. There's plenty of build up from the turbo, and the car just a little way short of pulling off another miracle.
Oh, I mean, what it's done so far is absolutely amazing, but it just wasn't to be.
It looks as though Kent's aware of what may well be the problem, Ken.
He's certainly trying. He's got an obligation, and he's not going to let it go. He's going to do everything he can to get it running.
We'll be back in just a moment to see what's happened with car 2, was in second place.
Disappointment, despair and dismay. They're three words that easily come to mind when you look in the face of Brett Youlden, the man who's just seen all his brave efforts come to nothing. Brett, what's happened?
Oh, John, it appears the left-hand CV joint's broken. There's a possibility we can get the car running again. The little laser turbo has a function where there's a rod underneath the car, under the transfer case, where you can lock the front drive up, so we'll get constant four-wheel drive the whole time. Brother Kent is out there now seeing if he can do that.
He's a mechanic, he can do it on the road?
Well, we've got a toolbox in the car. It's only a matter of undoing a bolt and moving a lever across.
What does that mean then in terms of the drivability of the motor car?
Well, the drivability, it just simply means that if it does give good drive, or if it does drive, the car will be a fair amount slower. But obviously at this stage in the race, it's just a matter of trying to get the car going, get any sort of drive we can whatsoever.
It's a question I hate asking, but how do you feel?
Well, like you said at the start of the interview, John, I think the expression on my face really sums it all up. I'll probably just about be happy to go away and hide the corner and cry for a while. I'm pretty distraught. It's always annoying to get so far into something like this. If you're going to break down, it'd be better for it to happen earlier on, not at the 12th hour as such. Thanks, John.
Yes, a car that had been up there for such a long time today, that Ford Lacer, and that is real bad luck. But a car, not number 2, number 22, that's up there running 21st, a Nissan Pulsar. And two ladies who are pretty happy about that are a couple of the drivers, Tracy Taylor and Michelle Callaghan. Good afternoon.
Hi. Hi,
you must be delighted.
Yeah, it's been a top day for us so far, and we just hope it ends well.
Yeah, the car's run beautiful from lap 1. We haven't had any problems whatsoever.
Whose idea was it to put together an all-girls team?
Well, Gary Rogers, he actually owns the car and sponsors the car through his Nissan dealership in Melbourne. And he's just approached us, and we've done some testing in the car at Calder, and it's just gone from there.
You've been driving for quite a while. You've got a tradition in your family, Michelle, of race driving. Have you been encouraged, discouraged? Is there sexism in this sport?
No, not really. I don't think so, no. If there is, I think we just sort of just keep at it, yeah.
I guess you are pioneers. Why aren't there more girls racing?
Don't know. There's no reason for it.
I mean, there's plenty of women get out there and drive. There are varying opinions on their ability. I'm not going to go into all that.
Yeah.
But you obviously love... What's the attraction for you girls, racing cars?
Just the enjoyment of the sport, the people you meet, the speed, and being able to go out and run with the guys and beat them sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable. It's a top sport to be in.
I guess the comment has passed many times, but you have very, very long fingernails there, Tracy. Does that no concern when you get in there behind the wheel?
That don't bother me. No, I just like to know everybody when I get out of the car. I look like a lady. I don't have to look butch to be a race car driver,
I'd
which
be a
is
bit worried
true.
if some of the male drivers got out with talons like those. Do women drive differently to men? I mean, it's often said on the road they do. Are you guys just as aggressive, do you think, as the men?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to be on the racetrack, otherwise, I mean, you just get left behind, yeah.
They give you the works in the early days? I mean, did they make...
Yeah, certainly. I mean, really, once you get out on the racetrack, I mean, it doesn't really matter whether it's male or female. I mean, you know, if you're racing the guy in front of you, that's it. Yeah.
Once you put a helmet on...
You all look the same.
We are, that's it.
Well,
We're all competitors. Once we've got a helmet on, it doesn't matter.
That's exactly right.
That's the way to look at it.
Yep.
Well, congratulations. You're having a pretty good day here.
Yeah, we are. Thank you.
Yeah, Michelle Callaghan and Tracy Taylor in the Nissan Pulsar number 22.
And there's the leading car. Still well in control, perhaps even slightly more in control than it was a little while ago. 235 laps completed by the three-driver combination of Charlie O'Brien and Gary Walden, and also Mark Gibbs. Mark Gibbs, although he's known more recently for his efforts in the four-wheel drive Nissan Skyline GTR, has had a lot of experience here in Group E, but the guys who really need experience on the mountain and who really motor very fast indeed in some of the most spectacular motor racing you'll ever see. If you come to Bathurst, you should see the bikes of the Bathurst. Let's have a look at the King of the Mountain Part 2 that was run yesterday. They go into grid positions as per the finishing order in that first 8-lap heat, but it is the first man across the line in this one who is the King of the Mountain on two wheels, all in readiness for the start. Now they're in the hands of the starter, waiting for the green light. So a good start this time by Wayne Clark. Heads the ball off on the Super Street machine. Len Willings in second. Giles is in third. Horton fourth. 8 laps, 49 kilometres.
And watch Giles up Mountain Straight now as the big legs of the Moriwaki Honda start to unwind. And there's Giles, 19, in the lead. David Horton in 27 in second position. Bike 11, Len Willing in third, and battling Horton for second.
Followed by David Horton, Len Willing on 11. Wayne Clark on 1. Down towards Forest Elbow is Len Willing going into second place. Good stuff. Tried hard to wash off speed there, Greg Hansen, when you come in tight.
Yeah, he just straight lined that turn and didn't even make a turn out of it, really. And got there, did it easy, so it's not a problem. But now he's back to where he started from.
Horton out of the slipstream, back into second position. Willing can't answer him under sheer horsepower, but he comes down on him again under brakes. Fastest corner on the circuit.
Losing his bike very early on is 98 Simon Hanania, and heading right towards another rider who's forced right out towards the fence. He's gone down an escape road to avoid the other rider. Sean Giles has dominated qualifying, dominated the racing, and there's the battle. David Horton and Len Willing, 27 versus 11. For second and third place, and it's still frantic and furious as they go to Forest Elbow.
The gap from Sean Giles here on bike 19 back to David Horton is now 20.4 seconds. Then the gap from Horton back to Len Willing is another 4.5 seconds. So Willing lost 2 seconds on that lap alone.
I wondered if he had a moment, actually, because he went from being in contention half a lap earlier to being 4.5 seconds behind. I wonder if he had a bit of a slippery moment, because he really was getting to the stage of trying very hard. As we see the race leader, Sean Giles, again plunging off McPhillamy Park crest there, and now off the top of the mountain. Coming up to lap Peter Buchanan, a C grader on the Ducati 900. Very much intent on his own problems. And 7 completed. The final one started by 20-year-old Sean Giles on the Moriwaki Honda.
2 minutes, 21.10 seconds on his penultimate lap. So Sean Giles just 6.2 kilometres remaining to become King of the Mountain, and that's something he can put in his scrapbook and take overseas with him and use as a means of maybe getting himself right. Oh, as the bike gets the huge wobbles up over Mountain Straight hump.
That's what I mean about an ill-handling motorcycle and using all your energy trying to hang on to it. That would have taken as much out of him hanging onto the bike then as doing a whole lap under control.
Greg Hansford, you won about half a dozen feature bike races here?
I think so, yeah, round about.
So you'd agree, I think, that anybody who wins a race here of this sort of class and speed deserves that title, King of the Mountain?
Sure. To get here for a start is hard enough, and to finish a race anywhere is hard enough, but to do it around this circuit and do it the way that he's doing it, and to have that much of a gap at the end of a race is a fantastic job. Well done.
Right out to the ripple strips goes Sean Giles for the 8th time off McPhillamy. Down the mountain now, saying to the other rider, come on, let's get on with this. I'm in a big hurry. And he's got less than a quarter of a lap remaining. Sean Giles down towards Forest Elbow now. Not many corners remaining. This one, Caltex Chase. Kink right, left, and right again onto Conrod. Then the final one at the end of Conrod. And he is the king on 2 wheels of Mount Panorama for 1992. If he just does the next bit right. Matthew Mladen would love to be here, but they're doing so many races now in the Australian Championships he couldn't make it. However, Giles got here, and this is his reward as he goes down to the last corner for this 8th and final time. Coming up to lap John Lyons on 88. Tucked in behind him is Noel Allen on 61. And across to the finishing line goes Sean Giles, King of the Mountain for 1992. The return of the bikes to Bathurst. And a man who's done it faster, better than anybody, and absolutely fault-free over the weekend. 20-year-old Sean Giles on the Moriwaki Honda, number 19. And following him home into 2nd place. And a great performance from the local Bathurst rider too, fending off the battle and the challenge early in that race with Len Willing, a much older and more experienced rider. And finally then, the veteran rider Len Willing hasn't been in the saddle for 3 or 4 years, but a tremendous fighting, racing, gutsy job.
Sean, congratulations. What's it feel like to be King of the Mountain?
It feels really good to be King of the Mountain. It's not much of an opportunity for people to come up here and ride, but when it does, it brings a sensation to everyone.
You had a big moment over Mountain Straight hump on the last lap. What happened?
I think it was just a bit of wind caught under the bike and just got a bit of a wobble up, but no problem.
What did it feel like to you?
Oh, it just felt like riding in the dirt. No worries.
40 minutes remain in the James Hardie 12-hour production car classic. Car 17, the Gary Walden OX7, now looks unassailable, but team manager Alan Horsley is really worried. Alan, why won't you bring him in and just put a little bit of fuel in the car?
Well, you could make a mistake, John, when we come in. We have done this period, these laps once before today. He is travelling a little slower, so we're just very hopeful we get through it.
How close are you to running out of fuel if you don't bring him in?
Well, as I said, we've done it once before, but it cut out in Caltex Chase, so...
It really is that tight, Alan.
Yes.
Yep. What happens if he starts to go out on one more lap just as the 12-hour mark comes up?
Well, we'll make sure he doesn't, John.
Why don't you bring him? And I keep asking the question. Surely your team's had enough practice by now to take the risk.
We are confident enough with the slower pace he's doing now that we can get in there.
Alan, how do you feel right now?
Very nervous. Thanks.
So across the top of the mountain goes car 17, not only trying to win the race, but trying to win the economy run. 239 laps completed. It's on its 240th. The winning distance last year of the Toyota Supra of Peter Fitzgerald and Alan Grice was 242 laps, 1,503 kilometres. We're still 38 minutes short of the hour, so that's about another 12 laps. So we'll beat last year's score by about 9 or 10 laps.
It certainly seems that way at this stage. Of course, this year there was no pace car and no fog in the morning, so that's helped a lot. But these guys have done an excellent effort to come back from the early setbacks, and it looks like they have the race in their keeping. They're obviously running to a reasonable pace at the moment, just trying to get to the finish. They've got a 3.5 lap buffer, and they're happy to play that off.
But there's been all sorts of disasters happening behind them.
True. In fact, car number 20, the BMW, is still running second outright, and Colin Bott's Saab is up to third outright. Some class changes later on too. I think you'll find that Peter Brock has moved up to second outright in Class B in the Peugeot, which is a good little effort, and the Nissan has been pushed back to third outright. Car 16, the Citroën, still leading.
So Peter Brock in Class B, not only running second in that class now, but also running 16th outright. Peter, I told you that when we talk to you, you keep improving placings. Are you happy with 16, considering what happened earlier in the race?
Yeah, I am. I mean, it wasn't a major hiccup, but the racing's that tight and that professional, and I suppose it speaks volumes for the quality of touring car racing in Australia, and particularly here at Bathurst, that one little hiccup, you know, just a brake caliper seal, and all of a sudden, here we are struggling to win the class.
Competitive though you are, Peter, I'm sure even you can sympathise with Kent and Brett Youlden, whose car went out just 2 minutes into the final hour when they were in second place.
Yes, Kent and Brett are mates of mine, and the guy that prepares the car for them, Garner Bateson's an old mate of mine, used to help me prepare the Australia 30, as a matter of fact. That puts him back a few years, and they were looking pretty good, and yeah, it is sad, you know, that's motor racing, isn't it?
Of course, it's contributed to your move up one placing, but it's a constant velocity joint that's done it too.
Yes, I heard that, because I've had a pretty good sort of communication from my pits, and we've been keeping an eye on, for instance, the little pulsar was in the pits before, and we realised we got back second in spot. I keep on wondering, I'm at the top of the mountain now, I keep on wondering, is that little Honda Civic there, is that the Citroën I'm looking for?
Yeah. One of the Citroëns is parked a little bit further down.
Yes. Now, I won't say anything to say that I was looking with a smile on my face. I wouldn't say that because we shouldn't smile at the misfortune, but I did sort of look and think, oh, well, it happens to everyone, doesn't it?
It often does. And Mike Gibson, how would you like to go for a trip around Mount Panorama with this guy? You went for an even faster trip last year.
I did with Dick Johnson. I got out a very deep shade of green, but I know a fellow who wants to have a little chat to Brocky. Brocky did a bit of backseat driving earlier on this afternoon and told Neil Crompton where to go. Neil Crompton's with us.
Hi Mike, how are you? This is a chance to square up, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Hey Brock, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well, Crompton.
This is fabulous. I've got the baseball bat now. What are you doing to that little beast out there?
Just squeezing her on. Plucky back. I use top gear back there, gets a maximum of 6, and then back to third, lift off, throw her through there, just let it use all the road there, as you see. And this is a secret to her, Crompton.
Neil Crompton,
yes.
We'll run the tapes back for you. We heard him hit the rev limiter twice in our last
thank
cross.
you, Will. You're a genius.
Hey, I just heard it. You just heard it then.
Now, how are the brakes holding up in this thing?
Well, they're okay because I'm just squeezing them on. But for you guys, up there in commentary, we've had to go back to our second choice of pads. But they're enough to get us through to the finish. But they give you a very wonky brake pedal. It's not at all, or it's not confidence-inspiring. So I squeeze the brakes on and try not to get the temperature into them. And if you find yourself going into the corner too fast, what I then do then is I just lift off and let the car float in there with a lot of understeer to wash off the speed. There's Ken up there now, just standing by the side of the road.
Peter, before you go, concentration. I mean, you haven't been behind the wheel for the full 11.5 hours, but that's a long time to be out there.
Yeah, it is. In fact, even now, you might wonder why is it, Mike, that a racing driver gets a lap time every lap. You think, what point's that? I mean, let him go out there and just drive around for an hour. But I'll tell you why I always do it, probably Crompton might agree, is it allows you to play a bit of a high-speed game with yourself so that you can always find out, I guess, have you been slacking a little bit? Did that technique work, you know? If you're easy on the car somewhere, did it cost you any time? Hey, look, I've got a Mazda RX-7 coming up here. Watch this guy go past me.
Okay, we'll leave you there, Peter Brock and the Peugeot, and we'll be back with more here at Bathurst in just a moment. are into the last half hour of the James Hardie 12-hour race here at Bathurst, and it's not too late for you to win this gorgeous little motor car.
Presenting the Wheels Magazine Car of the Year, the new Nissan Pulsar.
And here's your chance to win one of these amazing cars, the Pulsar Q, in the Nissan Pulsar Checkered Flag competition by answering the following question. Which cars won the 1991 Wheels Car of the Year? To enter, simply ring the 0055 number on your screen for New South Wales, ACT and Queensland, 0055 60505, Victoria, West Australia and South Australia, 0055 60384. The winner will be announced later on this afternoon, so get dialing because you can enter as many times as you like. And remember, you too could be singing... It's a Nissan, that's my car. And there are still Nissans out there. In fact, there are still something like 46 cars out there. And Neil Crompton, that absolutely amazes me. We got here at 5:30 this morning. They started in the dark, 55 of them, only 9 gone.
It's quite amazing, really, when you consider that these cars are just production cars, as you've discussed so many times during the day. And it was the same last year. We came here last year and everybody expected these cars to absolutely collapse and smoulder. And yet the rate of attrition, dare I use that word, is just so minimal. I think it's a tribute to the road cars of today. That wouldn't have happened 15 or 20 years ago. There'd have been steaming, smouldering wrecks all over the place with no brakes, no gearboxes and very unhappy drivers. But it's quite remarkable that you can drive a car around here for so long and they're being driven hard. You know, they're not fooling around. These cars are getting driven 8, 9 tenths, lap after lap after lap. You imagine the temperature build up and just... I mean, shock absorbers are going to get so hot. Engines are taking a pounding. Valve springs are all stretching out of shape, and the things survive. Oils, lubricants, look at, you know, what's being achieved there.
You drove a Holden last year. Of course, you're driving with Peter Brock this year, and not only the drivers must be fatigued, but what about these crews? I mean, some of those guys must have worked most of the night to get these cars away at 5:30.
Well, yeah, it's an entire program. It starts 2-3 months ago for some of these guys, possibly even longer. And, you know, they all have been working, in our case, with the Peugeot guys, they've been working sort of day and night now for at least the last 5 or 6 weeks. And it's nothing for those fellas to turn up at work at 6 o'clock in the morning and go home sometime after midnight and repeat that 7 days a week. And then, of course, once you get here, it turns into a total nightmare and they work non-stop. So it's a great tribute to the crews to have done that job.
OK, well, I've only got about 25 minutes to go, and thank you for your time. Neil Crompton, who's driving, of course, the Peugeot here this afternoon and this morning, right through the day in the Bathurst 12-hour.
The leading 2 cars have now completed the race distance that was done last year. Second place did 240 laps, and that's what this BMW has now covered. And, of course, we still have 27 minutes remaining. But the race leader, car 17, the RX-7 Mazda, has now completed 243 by comparison with last year's winning distance, 242. That's about 1,506 kilometres. Alan Jones in the BMW, for all the comfort of the motor car, are you getting weary?
No, well, it's actually like a long drive home, really.
Alan, there's been some bad luck up in the front area. For all that you've picked up a placing, you must have really felt for a guy like Kent and Brett Youlden, who soldiered around and got to within 28 minutes at the end of the race and lost second place.
Yeah, I do, honestly. I think that was a fantastic effort by that little car, and to go out like that so close to the end, I really do feel for them. I'm not disappointed, mind you, but I feel for them.
You're getting to the stage now where you've got to pick your way around the broken down or crashed cars around the track. You've got another one coming up shortly.
Yeah, well, there's quite a bit of debris. There's a bit of rubber offline, but, you know, that's part of any race, even the Tooheys 1000. You get that towards the end, but the main thing now is just sort of keeping everything under control and looking after your temperatures and bringing you home. We're about 2 minutes in front of the third place people, so we've got about 25 minutes to go, so it's really just a matter of hanging in there.
Are you right for fuel?
Yeah, we shouldn't have to stop with a bit of luck.
And how about brake pedal and temperatures? How's everything reading and feeling?
Oh, fantastic.
So everything's under control?
Yeah, good as gold.
Doesn't need a service?
No, not yet.
All right. We'll look after it.
Thanks, Will.
And, in fact, Craig Denyer, you want a word with Alan?
Alan, the James Hardie 1000, the big race here at Bathurst, has actually eluded you over the years. You came fairly close this year, and there's still 25 minutes to go.
Oh, thanks, Craig. You're trying to do the Murray Walker on me.
Mate, I wouldn't put the curse of the curse of the black jelly bean on you for quids, mate.
Good on you, mate.
So Alan Jones coming round to complete lap 241, 3 laps behind the leading Mazda RX-7, Charlie O'Brien. The setting sun looking right into it as he goes up pit straight. And then car number 49 leading in Class A and, no, second in Class A. Lying 15th outright. The class is in fact being led for some while now by the Suzuki Swift number 56.
Yes, car 49, the Wilmington Corolla, came in for a pit some 4 or 5 laps ago, and that was when the little Suzuki Swift car number 56 snuck ahead. But I would imagine they'd be fairly close on the road still, Ken.
We're just trying to tie it down at the moment. It appears that they're about 10 or 15 seconds ahead, but we'll try and confirm that. But these guys will still be giving it absolutely everything. In fact, you see at the moment that Tom's got his window wound up to try and reduce the aerodynamic drag a touch.
And for the great Aussie battler in the great Aussie Ute, Alan Grice, what is happening here behind me is that the whole fuel tank assembly has been dismantled. There was fuel washing all through the boot of, or rather the tray, the rear tray of the car where Alan keeps the dogs. People were warned back because of the risk of fire in this car. You can still see that the breather pipe is off the fuel tank at the moment. And Alan Grice has been sitting here for some 7.5 minutes. Meantime, his teammate, the man who with him won the James Hardie 12-hour last year, Peter Fitzgerald, has gone back out into the race. For 30 minutes, he sat in his own car with his helmet on, refusing to move, while mechanics worked feverishly around the rear differential of the car, finally got the seal back together again, and he's gone back out into the motor race to at least try and finish.
So there's the view with the second-place car on Conrod, heading towards Caltex Chase, the second-placed car in Class A. And there's the Western Australian Holden Commodore V8, the big brightly coloured purple car that's had wretched problems all day. Down the end of the straight, just taking a little jump past those cars as they go into the chase. See the sun casting long shadows now. That's what the sun does, actually. It casts shadows. That's the Colin Osborne car of Sam Silvestro, Peter Godden, Ron Macing, Toyota Corolla, car number 51.
I noticed car
22nd outright.
Car 55 has moved into third place in this Class 2. Well, that's the Chris Walker Corolla.
And there's the class leader, car number 56.
And in fact, second place is only about 100 yards behind on the road, so there's going to be a ding-dong scrap before they sort this one out. You can see the two just there at the bottom left-hand side of the picture.
So this is the situation in the last moments, the last few minutes, just over 20 remaining outright in the James Hardie 12-hour. We'll tell you more about it when we come back to Mount Panorama.
And there he is, barring considerable misfortune, the man who's going to win this race here this afternoon in the RX-7, and he's certainly scooted away this afternoon. He's come from a long way back, but throughout the day, the cars running second and third have been up there for a long time. That's the BMW and the Saab, and Tony Longhurst has been driving that BMW. You've had a good day.
Yeah, it hasn't been too bad.
Very consistent.
Yeah, the car's been great. A little bit disappointing in one pit stop. We had a disc jam on and we dumped a couple of minutes. But other than that, the car's been brilliant all day.
This is, yeah, I mean, a lot of people watching, of course, drive BMWs. This is this nice little North Shore car. It goes pretty quick.
It certainly does. The car is just brilliant. I drove it down from Queensland to run it in, and it is a stock showroom car. Like, we haven't played with anything at all, and its performance is really remarkable.
You've been with them a while. What's the strong point about this car? Why do you choose BMW?
I think they're the best car. That's pretty easy. It's just a nice car. It's a good car. The M3s that we race are very reliable, very quick, and we've had a great day in the M5.
Yeah, because I drive one, and I said earlier, they're nice to drive around town, but when you get out in the open road, they go along a bit too.
Yeah, it's not till you get the cars. They're designed for the freeways in Europe, and it's not till you get in the open roads that you realise how good they are. Around town, they're nice, but as soon as you get on an open road and wind them up, if there's no police around, they're great.
What about 12-hour racing? Are you enjoying it? Would you like it to go to 24 hours?
No, I think 12 hours is long enough. I think they should start at about 6:30 in the morning and still call it a 12-hour race. You've got to get up too early. 4 o'clock start this morning is a bit much.
Yeah, and concentration at the finish, was it starting to get to you?
No, I find this type of racing is much easier than our touring car racing. In the little M3s we run, you're always working the whole circuit. There's something to do, where at least you get a bit of a rest down the straight and across the top of the hill. And I think 5 laps in our Benson Hedges BMW is like 5 hours driving one of these things.
All right, it's been a good day for you.
Yep.
You look like coming in second. Well done. You still get your fingers crossed? It's not over till it's over. The fat lady hasn't sung yet, eh?
That's right.
OK, that's Tony Longhurst having a good day here in the BMW with Alan Jones.
247 laps completed by this car, and it's now still some 16 minutes away from victory. And in those 4 laps, as we just saw, Ken Douglas, things can still go wrong.
I think Gary Walden at the moment, who's piloting the Mazda currently, would be very, very nervous, but he'll just ease it to the finish.
And let's leap into the, if you like, competitor to the BMW that Tony Longhurst was just talking about, the Saab, that's running 3rd outright. It's 1 lap down on the BMW that's in 2nd place. In the car at the moment, it's young Glenn Seaton still. Have you been out of that car, Glenn?
Well, I've just done 2 stints and just finishing off the race. But I'm quite enjoying this, actually. It's great fun.
It must be fairly comfortable.
It is, really. We're starting to push the car a little bit harder just to the last 2 stints to try and gain a bit of ground on the BM, but we're not really... We gained a fair bit, but we're not going to gain enough by the end of the race, so we've sort of settled back to 2 minutes 50 and look after the car.
You settled down, oh, sorry, you had a pit stop just a little while ago. Was there a problem, or you needed just a little bit more fuel?
Yeah, we sort of were a bit short on fuel to do that 40 laps that we had left, so we had to put some pads in it as well, because we decided to go pretty hard on the pads we had in it, and to change the pads and try and gain on that BM, but it just didn't work. So I'm pretty happy. We've settled for 3rd after what happened today at the start. I'm fairly happy.
Is the car feeling happy? Is everything working well?
The car's absolutely fantastic. We haven't had a hiccup besides that 1st lap thing today. We've just been running at a conservative pace to look after the car, and
with hindsight, Glenn, it was very lucky that you heard it and responded to that problem on the 1st lap in the way that you did.
Yeah, it could have been pretty desperate there for a while. If it would have wore through the brake lines, we would have had no brakes at all, so the car could have ended up in the sandpit or the wall anywhere. But we're very, very lucky. We heard the noise and came in on the 1st lap to fix it, and it didn't really take that long. But that sort of thing you just can't afford to miss out on in this race, the time.
Glenn, we've got Colin Bond in here with us, and Mike Gibson wants to talk to you as well. Indeed, you seem to be running a bit of an aerofoil because you've got the sunroof partially open. Do you realise?
No, I pushed the button to wind the window up at the last pit stop, and I was wondering why the windows wouldn't go up, and it was actually I was pushing the sunroof.
Well, you've got it open. You've got it in downforce position, though. Perhaps you might like to hit the electric motor to wind that down. You can't afford that sort of extra fuel consumption, Colin, can you?
Certainly not. Oh, dear. No, things are going pretty good, actually, Glenn.
Yeah, real good, Collie. It's just a matter of going along and looking after the car and have a sort of a happy 3rd place. I think it's a good achievement for this car that people didn't think that would do the job.
Yeah, certainly. Basically, all we've got to do is straight along to the finish. I don't think we can catch the BM in front and the cars behind are far enough behind that you haven't really got to worry. So we couldn't get you on the other 2 ways, so it's nice to be able to talk to you this way. I think Kenny was giving me a sign saying do 250s, but you make up your own mind.
Yeah, no, we just cruise along at this speed, which is about 250.5s, and look after the car. But I was starting to enjoy being able to go a little bit harder, and now we're just back in cruise mode again.
Yeah, OK. See you soon.
Thanks, Collie.
What's the future of this car, Colin or Glenn? One of you want to buy it, or is it up for sale tomorrow?
I think basically it'll probably be used as some motor shows for a while, because I don't think Saab have really got any interest in doing other races. I guess that it's done pretty well this year. They may want to come back next year, but apart from that, Will, I don't think there's really any races that you have in this country that you could use this particular car for.
All right, well, don't forget the sunroof when you lock it up later tonight. You know what thieves are like. Thanks for joining us. Good luck for the last few minutes.
Thank you, Will.
And leading Class B hasn't been leading it all day. It had car 14 in front at one stage. The three-car team entered by Peter McLeod. It was a massive effort by the Wollongong Citroën dealer and former Bathurst winner, Peter Dane and Peter Jansen in the car with him to take it to victory in Class B. But the one that was heading them, that's come to a stop at this stage, Glenn McIntyre, Graham Gulson, John Wright in car number 14, unfortunately gone out earlier on when it was holding second in the class. But this is a tremendous effort, and Ken Douglas, you'd know well that driving a car is hard enough, organising a team is hard enough. To do both for three cars, as Peter McLeod's done, is a quite remarkable effort.
Peter's going to be trying to think, well, you know, how's the other cars going? How's my braking points? Is the tyres organised? Do we have enough fuel? Multitude of small details to sort out.
It's a real battle between Citroën, Nissan and Peugeot, and they're occupying 1, 2 and 3 in this class. Of course, Peter has been around here many, many times. Raced a Mazda RX-7 many years ago. Was here with Commodores in, I think, 85 and 86. Won Bathurst with Peter Brock in 1987.
Yes, he shared a winning drive here and hasn't been so regular in his racing in recent times, but he brought the Citroën here last year, thought it was a good idea. The factory thought that everything had gone fairly well, and in fact the factory over in France has suddenly become very interested in this and decided that this is a much bigger, more important, more significant motor race than they realised when they said, yes, we'll give you some technical assistance. So over the past few weeks, perhaps 3 or 4 weeks, Peter McLeod's really had access to several people from France. Coming up out of the cutting now, up towards the top of the mountain with the race leader, completing 249 laps. In second place behind him, 246 laps for the BMW. And leading Class B, 45, is in 15th place. 16th place and second in the class is car number 43. That's the Gould Motorsport entry of Warwick Rooklyn, Mark Larkham and Jeff Hutchinson in the Nissan Pulsar Triple S. It's been the electric blue and silver that's been the electric performer around Mount Panorama today. You can see in the distance there, incidentally, the MR2 that's second in class going fairly slowly, car number 29 of Whittaker. But this car has really lit up the mountain. It did so early in the race when it took off from the front row of the grid from second grid position and led the race early on. Then when it was doing those early laps that was pulling the lap record down and down. Then in the second hour, when disaster struck and it shot right down to 22nd place. Cannot come back from here. The Mazdas have had a disaster when later in the race, car 7 that had taken pole position went to 43rd place outright. Well, blow me down, by the 8th hour, they were back in the lead, and team leader Alan Horsley had said several hours earlier, we're doing at least a second and a half a lap. We can get back from where we are. He knew what he was on about. And Mike Gibson, it really was an astonishing recovery.
It certainly was. It mightn't necessarily be the right number as far as the gentleman next to me is concerned, but it's certainly the right car, isn't it, John Bowe?
It certainly is, Mike. It's a great effort by the Mazda crew, all the people involved, the management of the company, and Alan Horsley and Barry Jones, who put it all together. The cars only arrived in Australia 3 weeks ago, so considering how the day started, you know, it's turned out pretty good, isn't it?
It's been a long day for us all, but it must have been a very long day for you. As you said earlier on, you started with a bang, and then suddenly people were saying, you know, 9 or 10 o'clock this morning, well, the Mazdas are gone, and perhaps rightly so, but they were wrong.
Well, yeah, you know, in a 12-hour race, you've got to battle on, and a lot of other people have problems, and you just keep on hauling out there, and sometimes things turn out your way. Unfortunately, I was in the wrong car.
Well, I mean, the one that was out in front, it looked to be in all sorts of strife. It's come back from the grave, really.
Yeah, they were down at the first stop. They had a problem with the brake pads not going in, and they were down in 25th or something. So, you know, they've done a great job. The three very good drivers, and they've driven to instruction to keep the car alive.
And there's the car that's going to come in second, barring some unfortunate mishap. That's the BMW.
Well, in Tasmania, our family dealership sells Mazdas and BMWs, so it's a double day for me.
You've had a big day. Why do you think, I mean, obviously it's been a great success, but why didn't Mazda choose this particular race to make their worldwide debut with this car?
Well, I think, you know, the rules allowed a car such as that to be in it, and they just, Mazda as a corporation had just released it worldwide. It was released in America and Japan and Australia virtually at the same time, so I think Alan Horsley should be congratulated. He saw the potential of it and he ran with it.
Yeah, the Mazda RX-7, I mean, a few years ago, I guess the average fella could buy one. That was his dream. He bought himself a $25,000, $30,000 RX-7. I mean, the image has changed. This is a very expensive car, 70 grand plus.
It's still my dream. It's just my dreams got more expensive. But when you look at the performance you get for the dollar, it's actually quite good value.
And there's a fella who's had a big day too, young Glenn Seaton in the Saab. They just sat in behind all day, and they said they might just pick up a few places as the fella drops out. Well, of course, the Lacer dropped out, the Supra dropped out, and they've come in third.
Well, I think the Saab has been the big surprise of the whole week, because I don't think anybody, probably barring those two guys, thought it had that sort of pace in it, and it's been pretty remarkable. It hasn't had any problems, and it's quite a fast car.
And there's the leader in Class A, a Corolla.
Oh, what a feeling.
Oh, what a feeling. And with the last lap coming up, Will Hagan, it's been quite a day.
Yeah, I feel as though it's been quite a day. By about 9 o'clock, I thought it was midday. And I feel as though we've had a couple of days here, and I'm sure the drivers and crews, the mechanics feel like it as well. John Bowe, the crews particularly in their working, those young apprentices, unaccustomed to race conditions, working on the Mazdas, have really done a superlative job. They have not let you down.
A lot of interest. There's another car for you.
John Bowe, are you still there in the pit area, in the studio? He's gone. Okay, well, the car hasn't. It's, what, 1 3/4 minutes from the finish of the race. If it goes slow enough now, it might not have to take off and do its 254th lap. 253 that it's coming up to complete now will give it 1,571.9 kilometres, some 11 laps and 70 kilometres more than last year's winning distance. Coming into Caltex Chase, 58 minutes and 45 seconds, a minute and a quarter remaining. They'll have to do another 6.213 kilometres around Mount Panorama, Bathurst. Car number 17 should, in the regulations, this is maniacal behaviour by the car that's probably fresh out of brakes there as the leading Mazda comes across the start finishing line, and at 11 hours and 59 minutes it heads off on the final lap. 1 minute remaining, said you had to keep going.
Gary Walden in the car at the moment, the man that's done all the research and development in 3 weeks on this car, would be a very happy man. Ken Douglas, he's won here at Bathurst before in a Mazda, in a production car, but in a support race to one of the main events.
He, in fact, won twice in a Series 4 RX-7 Turbo, and for Gary to be the guy that actually drives the car across the line is somewhat poetic. Hell of a nice guy, excellent steerer, and he's just been stroking this car around, just getting it to the finish, being sensible. That poor Corolla on the last lap going into Murray's corner probably gave him half a heart attack, but I think he's recovered now and he's just stroking it round.
The average speed will rise from last year's winning average of 125.3 kilometres an hour to 131.5, and the winning distance will be. And even from here, they could make it home, couldn't they, Ken Douglas? Or even allowing for Caltex Chase.
He's got just a touch further to go, but from about a little bit further, the top of the McPhillamy Park, and he's nearly there. From there on in, he can coast.
So the winning race distance should be 254 laps. In second place is car number 20, the BMW M5, 249 laps completed at the moment, so 4 laps behind. In third place is car number 8, the Saab 9000 CSS Turbo. It's also on 249 laps. The BMW is also the leading car in Class C, the up to 4-litre class. This car, the Mazda, is of course the leading car, not only outright, but also in the turbo and 4-wheel drive car class. Coming down now to Forest Elbow, the last place really where he can slip up, although one says that, and then there's Caltex Chase these days. So there's still a few corners remaining, still about 1.5 kilometres to the end in this second momentous James Hardie 12 hour.
Gary's starting to feel a little bit comfortable now. He's nearly there. He's starting to wave at the flag marshals. Got the lights on, which you probably needed about this time of night. It's starting to get a little bit dark again, but not too far to go through the chase. After this, he's got 2 corners and he's home.
And only one more brake application. Accelerate now. 3rd gear up into 4th gear. Onto Conrod straight for the final time. Just 1 corner, 1 brake application, a couple of gear changes remaining, and it is an amazing, sensational victory for the World Motor Racing debut of the new Mazda RX-7, and particularly the drivers Charlie O'Brien from Queensland, Gary Walden from New South Wales, and also Mark Gibbs by the record-winning distance of 254 laps, 1,578 kilometres, averaging 131.5 kilometres an hour. 1 hour into the race, 11 hours from this, it seemed impossible. But they came back, they overtook the BMW, they fought with the Laser and the Commodores and the Toyota Turbo Supras at the front end of the field, and they came out on top. And then this BMW came working its way through, and Alan Horsley there, who didn't achieve victory here at the Mountain in an RX-7, operating the Alan Moffat team up to 1984, and Barry Jones, who's had a victory actually at Amaroo Park years ago with the other Jones, Alan Jones. But we'll, as the Mazda goes gently round the BMW, not far from confirming its 2nd place. So, victory lap now for Gary Walden in car number 17. The only man who had given Mazda victory here, but not in one of the major enduros. And now, what seemed a big risk is just a superlative victory. And Walden halfway back to the podium and to the spoils of the victor.
And that's the scene here at Bathurst, where the Mazda RX-7 has taken out the 2nd of the James Hardie 12-hour races. John Bowers stayed with us here. Of course, he's delighted. He was driving number 17, the winner, and a man who's just as happy as Malcolm Goff, the general manager of Mazda. What an afternoon, what a day, what a morning.
It's delightful, just delightful. I don't know how to describe it, actually.
They started with the lights on, they finished with the lights on. And it all went according to script, I suppose. I mean, if you picked up the paper tomorrow, you would have said, oh, well, if you hadn't watched the race, oh, yeah, they were always going to win the Mazdas. But, gee, it was tough, wasn't it?
Well, I think it probably went more to the television script than it did to our script, Mike. We had quite a few problems, quite obviously, in the early stages of the race, in particular with the brakes. But over, what, 3 hours, I guess? From 6 o'clock through till 9 o'clock. The boys did work furiously to overcome those problems, and we, I guess, caught up gradually throughout the day. So from our point of view, it certainly wasn't scripted to start off
you
the
would
way
have rather
it was,
a more pleasant resume.
Yeah.
But there were a few smarties and cynics by about 9 o'clock saying, well, that's the end of them. Did you ever, in the back of your mind, think, well, maybe they're right?
Yeah, you've always got suspicions, I think, in a 12-hour race, and particularly in a race at Bathurst. This is our 7th time to visit the mountain, and it's the first time we've really come home outright winners. So, you know, we're absolutely delighted.
And once you settle into the groove, actually, reliability was your strong point. I mean, the thing that they seem to be saying about your car is certainly the quickest, but will it go the distance? It went the distance very well.
Yeah. Well, the rotary engines, I think, been proven on quite a number of occasions, not the least of which was the Le Mans win in 1992. So from a rotary engine point of view, we certainly had no problems in believing that we'd go the distance. It was really the, I guess, the bedding in and the lack of time that we had throughout the 3-week preparation to really understand what the car would do and what it wouldn't do.
And what a distance. There's a little car. You jump in it, you drive from Melbourne to Sydney, you turn around, you drive back again. That's what you did today. And you did it quicker than anybody else. Quicker, John, breaking the lap record.
Well, Mike, it's a fast car, as we spoke about earlier in the day, 5:30 or whenever it was.
Yeah.
It's a very fast car, and after we overcome, as Malcolm said, the brake problems, it really didn't miss a beat.
No, you were too quick for him, and you outstayed him as well. Congratulations. You've had a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Delighted.
Malcolm Goff and John Dow.
And the scene at Mount Panorama, Bathurst, this great motor racing track, 6.2 kilometres of public road, and in Class B, after that frantic, furious, hard-fought 12 hours of the second James Hardie, this is the way they finished up in the class from 1601 cc's to 2 litres. Peter McLeod, who organised the Citroën effort, brought his own car home to first place in the class, ahead of Peter Brock in the Peugeot. Warwick Rooklin and his crew for Gould Motorsport and Greg Siddle came into third place. 3 different cars in the top 3 there in a class that Peter McKay soldiered on to a great job too. He'd only had 4 fast laps of practice when he ended up as being the lead driver in the car vacated by Peter Brock. He had troubles that held him up early on, but he kept going all day and finally has come into 6th place outright in class. In Class T, the turbo and the 4-wheel drive class, well, there you are, the outright winner, outright 3rd place, outright, haven't got it here, but further down, about 7th for the second of the Mazda RX-7s. The Subaru Liberty, that at one stage was in the top 2 or 3 in the class, with Gary Rogers from Melbourne and international rally driver Possum Bourne, came back into 4th place in that class. And Toyota Supra, that we'd looked on as being the solid car that could always last in the class, finally picked up the scraps in 5th place. Commodores should have won this class with the big homologation special cars, and indeed it was father Warren Cullen and son Glenn that did the job finally over the Falcon Tyres Commodore that threw off a wheel, got caught in a sand trap, but again soldiered on bravely and came home again ahead of the Falcon XR8. And in the sports car class, a couple of cars fell by the wayside there in what was one of the smaller classes for the race, the Toyota MR2 car number 28, entered by John Smith, but Jeff Morgan, Keith Carling, Rick Bates with a winning combination there.
James Hardie 12-hour production car classic has been one of the most enthralling, exciting and best long-distance motor races ever held in Australia. It's seen a utility try and certainly not fail. It's seen 8 cars lead the race in the 12-hour duration, and it's seen a car come from 22nd position, obscurity, to take the lead. Would you please welcome to the balcony the winner of the James Hardie 12-hour, Mark Gibbs, Charlie O'Brien and Gary Walden. Charlie O'Brien first onto the balcony, Gary Walden second, Mark Gibbs third. To present you with your trophies, gentlemen, Mr. John Reid, the chairman of James Hardie Industries.
Charlie, to you and Mark and Gary, congratulations on a terrific race from all of us at James Hardie. Well done.
Trophy now comes out for Mr. Reid to present it.
Yeah, I think so.
Charlie, congratulations. Welcome to the balcony.
Thank you very much. It's been a hell of a long time. The first time I came here was in 1975, and the first time I've been up here, so certainly wouldn't be here without Mark and Gary, and also Alan Horsley for putting all this together with Mazda. I tell you what, I've never driven a car that handles and stops like that new RX-7. It's going to be a winner. Thank you.
Charlie O'Brien, folks. Gary Walden, come up. Gary's the man who did most of the development work on the car, and the man who takes, I guess, a lot of pride in being on this balcony today.
Yeah, sure do. I think a lot of people thought we weren't going to make it.
but it's a little rocket, and it just keeps on going. But I would like to thank Mazda very much, especially Alan Horsley, all the crew, all the apprentices that were changing the tyres. They did a great job. Barry Jones for preparing their car, and also James Hardie Industries, Vince Tessero, and everyone associated with this great race. Thank you very much.
Mark Gibbs very quickly to the microphone as the champagne comes out and the crowd beneath gets ready for their celebratory shower. Mark, you're up here last year for the Tooheys 1000 when you came third in the Nissan. How does it feel to be up here for Mazda?
We've had a great day. I'd just like to thank Mazda, Barry Jones and all the crew. They've done an excellent job. They've only had the car for about 6 weeks, and it's a credit to them to have the cars on the front. Thank you very much.
There goes the champagne, folks. Give them a cheer. These are the winners of the James Hardie 12-hour production classic.
Charlie O'Brien, the pride of Queensland tonight with the boys there. And the Easter Bunny certainly arrived for Mazda here at Bathurst this Easter Sunday in the James Hardie 12-hour. We'll be back, and Johnny Smales will talk to those winners in just a tick. Well, this is the way it began at first light this morning at 5:30, and this is the way it finishes shortly after 5:30 this Easter Sunday. It all went according to the script. We read it all week. The Mazdas were going to win at Bathurst, but gee, that script had a few plots and subplots and dramas along the way, and the Mazdas were successful, and there with the winners right now we have John Smales.
Mazda victory will go down in motorsport history as one of the most sensational on record. To come from 22nd position, obscurity, to win the James Hardie 12-hour classic is indeed something quite extraordinary. And Gary Walden, at 7:22 this morning, you were in the car when you pulled into the pits with the brakes absolutely on fire, seized to pieces, and you spent 9.5 minutes in the pits. At that stage, did you think you had any chance in the race?
I was quite worried then, John, but you know, it's a great little car. Mazda have built a fantastic little motor car. It's got a ton of speed, and I think probably that's why we came back at the end. We were down, I think, as you said, 22nd place, and you know, the car just performed so well.
Well, it was only a short time after that again that you pulled to the pits and had yet another long stop, another 3 minutes, while the brakes were again changed. At that stage, you must have felt like sort of getting in the road car and going home.
Oh, no, not that bad. What happened, actually, we had to go to a softer compound pad because we couldn't fit the thick race pads in. That way, they only lasted an hour, so I had to come back in again. And from then on, we were right.
Charlie O'Brien, you're the long-distance expert in this equip. Have you ever seen a race like that with so much drama?
Well, obviously, you're going to have dramas in a production car race because none of the parts or none of the cars are tried. So you're going to have trouble, and we thought we were going to have a little bit of trouble, maybe not as much as what we experienced earlier on. But I never gave up hope because we had our trouble early in the race. At that stage, nobody else had been in for unscheduled stops, and I figured at the end of the day, like the last 3 hours, was where those guys were going to have their trouble. So I sort of really thought that we were going to come back.
Gibbs, you brought a Nissan, dare I say it, here last year and brought it in third in its first attempt at Bathurst. How do you feel with this Mazda trip?
Well, being a production car, it's probably the best, obviously the best car out there. We came here with the best car and the best team, and we expected to have a good result, and we've done that.
Barry Jones, the man who put all the cars together, you must be quite pleased at this stage, especially since you brought car 7, the other car, home in 5th position.
Well, yes, it was a lot of hard work, but we've got a good car, we've got a good product, we've got a good team. I might add that the team consists of Mazda apprentices. None of them have been to Bathurst before. It's taken 3 months of hard work to get everybody into a cohesive effort. And I think the result shows. We had a minor hiccup this morning with brake pads, but there was a few frailties there, and we had to overcome that as the day progressed.
OK, well, the Mazda RX-17, not the only winners here at Bathurst today. We also have a winner for our Nissan Pulsar competition, and that lucky winner is Mrs. B. Smith of Helensvale in Queensland. And from something like 60,000 entries, Mrs. B. Smith of Helensvale in Queensland has won our Nissan Pulsar. And the man who went as close as possible as you go to winning by finishing second, Alan Jones. Well,
Well, actually, it's been a good day for Queenslanders all round. Charlie O'Brien's a Queenslander, I'm a Queenslander, and now we've got a Queensland...
They all remember now, don't they?
But Alan, when you crawled in here on your hands and knees, you expressed the thoughts of all of us, reckon. And this makes the James, the Tooheys 1000 look like a sprint race. I mean, this is a very long, hard day, isn't it?
It is a long day because you have to get up at sort of 4 o'clock in the morning or 3:30, and fortunately I didn't because Tony started. But it's a long day, that's for sure.
You reported in your pyjamas at 7, didn't you?
No, I had a bit of a sleep in and had a nice breakfast and arrived about 8 or something. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
I mean, it's been, what, 8 years since you've driven a race anywhere near this sort of distance. There's always a journalist says, Alan, would you do it all again?
Well, and you always say no, but you inevitably do. I mean, I remember I've done Le Mans twice, and I remember halfway through that saying, what the hell am I doing here? Never again. But I went back. But I enjoyed today. It's a great atmosphere. And what this race is about, really, it is very, very good for sussing out the cars. The manufacturer who can put the best package together, because any car that finishes this race intact is a good package.
It really does have a lot of relevance and I think a lot of meaning, Alan, doesn't it? To the cars that are being used on the road. It indicates what's working well, what's well balanced, what's well set up.
The complete package.
That's right. Yeah. And in primary safety terms, is a good, safe vehicle.
Yep.
A great advertisement for Tuesday morning, and somebody says, I want to buy myself a car. They've seen, well, 3 cars here today, the Mazda, yours, and the Saab, that you just jump in Brisbane to Cairns non-stop, no trouble.
Well, Gibbo, what our car went through today would probably represent about 15 years of normal motoring. You know, I mean, the components of the car get subjected to things that the normal car would never even go anywhere near. And, you know, it's good. That's what it's all about. It's a proving ground.
OK, congratulations on your 2nd place. And congratulations, of course, to everybody connected with the Mazda RX-7 team. They've had a wonderful Easter Sunday. It went according to script. They took out the race. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next year, I hope, here at Bathurst.
Eyewitness News is coming up next on 10. Tomorrow night at 7:30, get the facts on life in the 90s from the Healthy, Wealthy and Wise team. Jackie McDonald and Ronnie Burns bring you a bright and informative look at the ways to make the most of our wide range of choices in this ever-changing world. Healthy, Wealthy and Wise, followed by Whoopi Goldberg and Jumpin' Jack Flash tomorrow night on 10.
Y'all ready for this?
The 1992 James Hardie 12-hour was proudly brought to you by James Hardie Industries, Caltex, Peugeot, Bridgestone, and Nissan.